Hello, everyone. I'm Paula Houghton, the Director of Outreach and Engagement at Foundations, Inc. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today for a Beyond School Hours National Education Conference follow-up webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about Foundations. We're a national education nonprofit that's located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And our mission is to improve the quality of education by building the skill of educators. We work across the school day with after-school programs, schools, districts, states, to create a brighter future for every child every day. If you're interested in learning more about Foundations, you can take a minute to follow us on social media, and I'll drop that info in the chat. You may know us for our signature professional learning experience, the Beyond School Hours Conference. This conference is held every year in February, and in 2023, we'll be in Orlando from February 9th to 12th, and we really hope to see you there. Our presenter today is Elle Essenmacher of Harmony SEL. Elle has decades of experience at all levels of education, from preschool to high school, and we're so fortunate to have her with us today. Thanks so much, Elle.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you all. And let's get started. The title of our session today is Relationship-Driven Activities. I work with Harmony SEL, and that is what all of our resources and training is about with Harmony and Inspire. We have 1 hour to fly through all the wonderful things that we have for you. I didn't want to leave anything out. So it's in the PowerPoint, but some of these things, depending on time, might stay in the PowerPoint, and you'll have my contact information if you have further questions. So this is me, and my first request is, can you put something in the chat that might be surprising about you? Or, we're not that big a group. If you wanted to come off chat, you could actually share. Something that is surprising about me is that I lived and worked on the Navajo reservation. That was my first experience in a classroom. Anybody else have anything surprising? And Paula, if you can help me with the chat and let me know what some of those comments might be. Anybody have anything surprising? Interesting? I'm going to start calling out. If I was in a classroom, I'd be walking over next to some of you.
We've got a couple in the chat.
All right.
Susie says she loves bodies of water and going to the beach, but she doesn't know how to swim. Maria says that her first time teaching was in Thailand.
Wow.
She says she showed mini donkeys.
Okay, you guys do have surprising and interesting things.
Oh, and Maria can speak Thai now.
Wow. That is awesome. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways to connect with people, and even just asking a simple question can start building a relationship. Lucinda, you were in the medical field for 15 years. Wow. And now you're serving again in education. It's awesome. All right. Today, this is our agenda. I want to go over agreements and the objectives for our session today. Just a quick SEL overview and why Harmony can meet your needs. And the sections in our platform are everyday practices, lessons, and activities. We have a game room app I want to share with you. We have a 3rd edition that's coming out. We're going to focus mostly on 2nd edition today, but I'll share some of the features of the new edition. And then very briefly, I want to talk with you about Inspire Teaching and Learning, just so that you will be a little teaser so that hopefully you'll get on the platform and check out Inspire, a wonderful resource for you too. So agreements first. How many of you already have agreements in your classroom? Can you just put in the chat or use your emojis to just give me a thumbs up? Do you use agreements, set goals, or have some kind of class discussion about how you're going to treat each other? Is that a yes or no? Use your emoji or just in the chat put yes. And if not, you can leave it blank. Okay, Susie, thumbs up, good. It's really important. It's just like in your own meetings. with staff. Think about a staff meeting, having clear guidance about what's expected, turn your cell phone off, listen to understand, whatever those guiding objectives might be. So today, what I want to cover with you is share the strategies and resources that might support you in your group goals and really empower student voice. It's a passion of mine that we make sure that students know that they have choice and how they can use that power, that empowerment to get their needs met. Can also support academic success, and primarily this lesson is about building relationships with students, student to student, but also students to adults. And also many of these strategies we find that we use with our adults in our staff meetings or in gatherings that we might have with parents or other informative sessions. And then Inspire is about providing those professional development resources that you might want to be the rock star in delivering some trainings that are already all planned out for you. So the first thing is, let's do a meetup. Meetup is, you probably already are doing circles, classroom, group, or rap session, whatever you might call it. But what I love about our meetup are these 4 steps. If I had known these when I was in the classroom, it would have made it a lot more convenient and easy for me to do it routinely because it structures the time. One of my big challenges with doing circles or show and tell or any kind of group meeting was it felt like the time could get away from me. And I always felt that pressure of using my time to hit my academics too. So if you feel that pressure, I don't know if any of you feel that when you're, I used to call it show and tell from hell, because the time would get away and I would feel pressured and then not want to do it. It's really important to set this up as a standard thing that you do, a way of connecting with your students and letting them know that this is part of a really important part of their day, that you care about them. So our 4 steps are, we have a greeting, a share and respond, a check-in, and then a connection at the end. And I will show you how quickly this can go. And we're going to do one right now. So we're not that big a group. So I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind, are there a couple of volunteers? First, we're just going to do a quick greeting. The greeting is this simple. Get ready, turn your cameras on if you can. It's a lot better in person, but we're still going to do it. I'm looking at Hortensia. I'm looking down at your faces. I want to see as many faces as I can. Thank you, Arita. Is that right? Susie, Rhonda. Hey, Rhonda. Good to see you. Cheryl. All right, we are going to do a wave. If you've been in a stadium, you've been to a sporting event and you've done the wave, right? Been part of the wave, seen the wave, traditional wave. But we're not going to do a traditional wave. I want you to show out right now, guys. I'm going to start it, and we're just going to do it all at the same time. If we were in a circle, we'd be able to look at each other and enjoy this more. But right now, I'm going to show you. I want you to do your best wonky wave. It's going to be very quick, and even if we were in a room together, it'd be very quick going around the circle. I'd send it around both ways. Get ready. Get a plan. Wonky wave. If you need to stand up, go ahead. I'm doing mine seating. Are you ready? Wonky wave. Go for it. Go. Get a little energy going. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's that easy. And can you see how that'd be fun with kids too? It's fun with adults. And then share and respond. The share and respond, what's different about our meetup is you select 2, maybe 3 people who will share. And then it is the group's opportunity to respond to that. Communication is not just one way. And that was the piece that was missing when I was doing show and tell. Kids were just listening for their opportunity to get up there in front of everybody instead of really listening to each other. And if you set up this protocol from the very beginning, they understand that over time, everybody will get a turn. So it's important that you listen to what your friend, your colleague, your classmate is sharing, because your opportunity thereafter is to ask a question or make a comment. So who will share something? We did already did one sharing already about something interesting. Tracy, mini donkey, right? Am I right? Tracy, can you come off mute? Weren't you the one that you showed mini donkeys? Am I right? Paula, do you remember who that was?
Renee.
Renee.
Renee Hernandez.
Miss Renee Hernandez, would you mind coming off mute? Are you there, Renee? I don't hear anything from Renee. All right. That was interesting to me. Is there someone else who would like to share, elaborate on that something interesting and unusual about themselves? Can you come off mute, raise a hand? Again, I'm not too shy to start calling on people. Artie, you're smiling really big. I think you have something interesting. Could you share something interesting? Just a couple sentences, doesn't have to be a lot. Thank you.
Were you calling on me? Sorry, I was letting everyone know
am.
that I was coming off mute. But
Thank
I
you.
guess one fun fact or something interesting about me is that I have a Hindi name, first name, Filipino last name, / Japanese, but I'm actually Hispanic. So all my kids are always asking, where are you from? Or why is your name that way? And I always have to explain what it means, where it comes from, where my parents got it from. And once I explain what it means, they're always like, oh, that's interesting.
It is interesting. And so now, Artie, if we were in a circle together, I would guide you to say, does anyone have any questions or comments for me? Mm-hmm. So if you could say that, and then if anyone in our circle could have a question or a comment for, is it Arita?
Ariti.
Ariti.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone
have any questions or comments?
Yeah, you said you tell the kids what it means. So what does it mean?
So the word Ariti is actually pronounced arati, which means giving grace to the gods. It's a verb.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow. So how did your parents ever tell you the story of how they chose your name?
Yes, they did. So my mom said she opened a book. She said it was an Indian book, and she saw the word and she liked it. And keep in mind, my mom only speaks Spanish, so she always thought that that was pretty. So she went forward with actually naming me that. And all my other siblings have like traditional American names except me. So that always stuck out.
Ariti, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Paula, thanks for your question.
Thanks.
So you see how simple it is to do a share and respond. And later on in the session, I'll show you where on our website, we actually have some guidance on teaching children more about how to respond and how important it is to listen to respond. The third step is our check-in, and the check-in is based on your class agreements, your group agreements, your norms, whatever you call them. So it's as simple as saying, how are we doing today? How are we doing with treating each other this week? Does anybody have any, any celebrations? Can we celebrate someone? Can we celebrate Cheryl? Cheryl was such a good leader today. When she was the line leader, she really did a good job getting us right down the hall where we needed to go. It can be something simple like that. And then also in check-in, does anyone have any challenges for us? And I encourage you to use that word challenges and not really focus on problems. It can be a triggering word, but if we can talk about challenges, because the whole point of check-in is problem solving. celebrating, acknowledging that things are doing right, really keeping that positive vibe going, but then drawing your class or your staff. If you're an administrator and working with staff, drawing your staff into what are the challenges that we can work on together. So instead of it being directed authoritatively and like the law coming down, it's more about we care about each other. How can we make sure that we're doing, following what we said we're going to do? And then the last step is always a quick connection, something that is fun. So right now, if you would all just give me your signature bye-bye. Give me your signature bye-bye. How would you do it? How do you tell people, a hand wave? What do? You wave like this? I tend to go like this. Give me your signature sign for when you're leaving the room, your goodbye. How would you do that? I'm looking at all of you. I'm looking for it. Oh, peace out. I like that. I like that. Your quick connection, I'm going to share with you some more resources that will also give you some other ideas for that quick connection at the end. Social emotional learning. Can you give me an indication, how much do you all already know about social emotional learning? On a scale of, let's keep it simple, 1 to 5, 5 being, I know a lot about this and I could be teaching this webinar right now, or 1, I'm learning. So in the chat, and Paula, if you could just kind of give me a sense of where we're at with the numbers, what do you all know about social emotional learning already? Can't hear you.
We've got a lot of 3s.
Okay.
Most common, we've got a couple 4s, 4, 5, we've got a couple 2s, 2, 3s. The 3 seems to be pretty much the most common answer.
Okay. So I'll go a little bit faster than I might have. And again, you will have this PowerPoint. There are notes attached to each of these slides to help you with any questions you might have. So social emotional learning is really important. And we all know that, I think, more than ever. I'm an early childhood educator, spent many years in working with really young children. And we always knew that this was the important thing. We always said, anything you need to know, you can learn in kindergarten, right? That this is the most important thing that we teach children, that our content is important, our academics are important, but, they don't care. They don't care what you know until they know how much you care, right? So social emotional learning is really important to developing decent human beings, people who are able and ready to learn, people who are able and ready to be in relationship with others. And our SEL can help achieve educational equity and excellence by developing that partnership. So those relationships are not just with the students. Developing those relationships with students also means it's a gateway to you having relationships with their families, their parents, and with the community at large. All of those relationships matter. I know that when I taught in inner city Pontiac, the relationships that I had with the parents and with the community are what really helped me make those strong connections with my students, because I had the support of that community and family behind me with whatever those expectations were and working those things through. And so why is it important? Why is it so important? Well, our students come with all different kinds of needs. And if you look at that wheel, they have unique assets. And again, it's about, the gifts. We have gifts differing. And we also have challenges. All of us have different temperaments, different achievement levels. And in every classroom, every year, you're always figuring, every program, every group that you're bringing together, whether it's a group of adults that you're working with, you're constantly kind of analyzing, where are they at? What are the needs? How can I support that? How can I connect? And I'm wondering if any of these on this wheel, if there's any in particular that stand out to any of you as the most important or challenging for you this year? Something that really you might have found to be critical in your analysis of how you're going to connect. Did any of you have, does anyone have anything to share about that? Anything that was important this year for you in connecting with your group? Was mobility an issue? Mobility, you know, in the past, we thought about mobility as children moving around, you know, moving community to community. How many of you had an issue this year with mobility, meaning in school, out of school, because of the pandemic, because of illness, because of concerns about illness, because of mask wearing? Did any of you have that as an issue, that kind of transiency and the impact on your classroom, your group of students? Nod heads. You know, the other groups that I've talked to, thank you, Cheryl, had talked about that and what a challenge it was, and also with staff, keeping staff changing, staff being out for illness, staff moving on to other positions, especially in the, especially in the after school market, but actually in the K-12 classrooms. There is a huge change in our staffing, and it's challenging for everyone right now in having enough staff to actually support your programs. All of these things are addressed through relationship. Would you agree with that? Yeah. And ultimately, our goal is college and career readiness. Not just college, but career readiness. And look at these facts and think about that. Think about when you are hiring or when you are being hired. You know, the desired workplace skills are the things that we're working on with Harmony and through these activities. This kind of communication and getting to know each other allows the opportunity for problem solving, modeling that, and teamwork, being able to talk to each other. When we talk about academic discourse, well, you don't learn to have academic discourse if you don't know how to have discourse. Think about that meetup, about sharing and then responding. That's discourse. And so,
something's covering your camera.
Oh, so sorry. So sorry. So in this relationship, we all matter. The adults and the children, we all matter in making this work. And leveraging social emotional learning, leveraging relationships to create equity, inclusivity, to create agency, a safe space where children can use their voice and make their choices, is really where my heart is at and has been for my entire career. That I think the most important gift we can give to our staff and to our children is to give them that safe space where they're included, they feel like they matter, they belong, and that they can exercise their agency. It's all about relationship, and that's what Harmony is about. And we have a research base that shows that by using our program, academics, think about an old song, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. Well, that's what we are doing. That's what we are doing. We are accentuating and improving academic achievement, enjoyment in school. Think about yourself, how important it is that you enjoy going to work. What a difference that makes when you look forward to connecting with people at your workplace. It's the same for children. Class connection, interaction with diverse peers, that we really are a connected group, that we really do function like a family. And then, of course, eliminating or reducing aggressive behavior and bullying. All of those things are possible through developing authentic relationships. And this, you know, multi-tiered systems of support, I'm not sure how many of you are thinking about that or concerned about that, but some programs offer operate at a universal level. Some programs are targeted where they pull in, push in, pull out, work with smaller groups of students, or even one-on-one opportunities. Whatever your program is doing, relationship is still at the center of all of that working. And so we have materials, we have resources that can work at all of those levels. Meetup will work universally as a class group, but you can also do a meetup with a small group easily, and you can even do a meetup one-on-one. And we also are going to talk about another resource we have called Buddy Up that works very well with one-on-one. So everyday practices and lessons and activities are the relationship builders that we have. And here's our program structure. Half of our platform is about everyday practices, the things that build that muscle where they actually get to use what they're learning. The lessons and activities, our new edition has really shaped these lessons and activities to work well with after-school programs. They're much shorter, 15 to 20 minutes. For our K-12 programs, some of them are still using those lessons that are more like 40, 45 minutes long. But the activities, and I'm going to share with you the Game Room app, are things that can be done in very short amount of time and bring the fun into the classroom and building those relationships. Our everyday practice, we've already done a meetup. When you do meet up in person, we really strongly recommend you do it in a circle so that everyone sees everyone, that it's very inclusive. The Harmony goals we talked about a little bit in setting up, and it's just about setting up your norms for your group and what your expectations are. I'm going to talk about Buddy Up and how it's different than Think, Pair, Share, because our Buddy Up is very intentional practice. So a new addition to our platform is the ability to set up personal Harmony goals. We talked about our norms for the group, our class goals, but we have resources for you to talk with students, set up personal goals, and we have this chart that you could actually download from our website to help them set those goals and very easily track how they're doing through the week. You could roll that into your meetup where they actually talk about how they're doing, invite them to talk about what are your personal goals, how are you doing with that, and how it connects with supporting the whole group. These goals are all about creating that safe and connected space, and that it's really it's about the accountability for self and accountability to the group too. So if you think about a rule and a goal, what would be the difference between a rule and a goal, and how are they similar? Anybody have any thoughts about that? Paula, help me look for a smiling face. You guys don't all start frowning. There's no right or wrong answer here. Anybody look for a smiling face, somebody who might share a little something about what they think about goals and rules and what might be the same or different.
I'll share.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
When I think of a rule, I think more of an expectation. And the goal is, how do I reach that point, or how do I achieve that expectation, that process?
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Was there someone else who wanted to share? I heard another voice. Was that you, Miss Opal?
Yes. And also in the chat, Margot said, a goal is something one works toward, whereas a rule might define how you get to the goal.
Okay.
So and I agree with what was said, but in addition, I would say for me, when I think about rules, I think about safety, what is required for us all to be safe in the space, primarily physical safety. When I think about a goal, I also include how are we going to accomplish those expectations, whatever the rules are about, in addition to, I would say, kind of like a collaboration, discussing what it is we all need to be comfortable in the space and how we're going to go about reaching that goal. So I think it's a little bit more for me, in addition to what was said.
Yeah, thank you. From a student's perspective, think about the difference about rules and goals. Think about yourself in your workplace. If you have rules in your workplace versus goals in your workplace, how is that different for you? And I think you all have hit on that rules are really more from an authoritative point of view. They are the thou shalts, right? It could be about safety, like Opal was saying. It could be about, I think about rules in my own home, raising my children. I had some particular things, some words that I really was like, it was a rule in my home. You will not use those words and you will not talk to me that way. I'm your mother. I'm not your friend, right? And goals are more about just what you were talking about that collaboration, about what do you want to achieve. It's more from a student perspective, what is in their heart and their mind for themselves, what is important to them. Rules are more about what is important collectively, and they really they're generally non-negotiable, right? They're the things that we really must do. And it's the same for us in our workplace, like paperwork that we have to do, things that we have to do to stay employed are not necessarily the same as our goals of what we want to achieve in our work life. So we have 4 steps for creating goals. Just like we had 4 steps for Meetup, we have 4 steps for creating our goals. It's what you were alluding to, I think, Miss Opal, with this collaboration. Discuss the ideas and then synthesize them. Any good leader knows that you can help shape that thought to include everything that's important to you in your space. And then you record it. And another great idea is to have the group sign on like a contract. And then, of course, with our Meetup, we monitor those goals. So they don't live on the wall. They are not something we just post on the wall. They actually are part of what we do every day, what we care about, what we commit to. And we have those discussions. Again, what are our celebrations with how are we done with our goals? And what are our challenges? How can we do better? So here's some examples of what those goals might look like. If in your space you are able to put up a bulletin board, great. But if you don't, you can do it on a clipboard. You can be creative. You can hang it on a cart. And so thinking about class goals and personal goals, do you see a way to use this with your staff or your students? And what kind of strategies, what are your thoughts about this, how you might employ this thought process, these 4 steps, or maybe you already are using them? Anybody willing to share?
Hi, I work in DC public schools, and I see that a lot of our classrooms use an approach similar to that to set the school day norms for their classrooms. And because we work in the schools with the same students, often in the same classrooms, rather than having the after-school approach to those norms and goals be part of what extends into the school day, we just continue from the other direction and have the students' group-defined norms and expectations follow into the after-school program. So it's the same process. It's just like from the reverse,
What I love about that, Margot, is the concern for the continuity for the student. It really does create more structure and a safe space that you can support them in that. And in the after school, you have more opportunity to even have more discussion about it, right? So I think that's awesome that you do that. On our portal, I'll be sharing that with you. There's resources where you can ask questions or look at the questions that have already been answered to get more information about our Harmony goals. I'll be sharing that with you. Meetup, we've already done one. There's a template that you can download that actually you could do your planning, what your greeting would be, your sharing and responding, thinking about your checking in with yourself, checking in with others, again, those group goals, and then planning your connection. And something that we've just added, we can do the connection like, I just had you do your wave, how you sign off, your peace out, Cheryl. But also we have a new feature offering up mindful minute activities, things that, and I'll share that with you shortly. And I'll actually put that in the resource packet, Paula, so that they can easily access a flyer about how to use this mindful minute in their connecting. So why do we meet up? Look at all these things that I think you would agree. It will create positive relationships. It will encourage empathy and introspection, self-awareness, and awareness of others. And here's some ideas from the field. These are people in the after-school market. These are things that they said they found that Meetup helped them with. The last one, building rapport at a family event. If your students are doing this routinely, you understand how Meetup works. I don't know how many of you actually have family events where you bring families in, bring people in, but can you imagine that if you had set this up routinely, that your students could actually lead a meetup for their families? And what would that do if they were able to do meetups at home? Set up a time, whether it's around the family dinner table or however they could come together. Think about if we were able to encourage better communication and connection within our families, how reciprocal that would be. Just like Margot was talking about, bringing the school day to the after school and supporting it. Well, taking what we're doing and bringing it to families and creating that cycle of goodwill and good behavior, good skills. So again, the steps for Meetup: gather in a circle, have a wholesome welcome, a greeting, and you could have it be a standard greeting, how you do it, or it could be something that you would change up. Maybe you're going to use different languages. Today we're going to say our greeting in Spanish, hola, ¿qué tal? Teach them a variety of ways to do that greeting in another language. And sharing and responding, selecting 1 or 2 students, 2 or 3, depends on your time. And really important thing is teaching them that the point is that you listen to respond, that you understand, and that over time, everybody will share. So of course, you want to keep track of that to make sure that over time, everyone does share. The other thing is, if you have someone who's really shy, I was a very shy student. I would never have volunteered to share. I would have been trying to hide in the back of the circle if it was possible. But as the adult in charge, seeking out that student and connecting with them and saying, hey, I've noticed you haven't shared. I really would like you to share, and our group would really like to get to know you better. Do you think you could do sharing later on this week? Could I help you? Could we think about what you might want to share? And let's plan that out and let's set it up. So do a little pre-correct with them. Help them be a part of that group and help them build their voice, help them build their autonomy. And we have some response prompts that are also available. I'll put that in that packet for you to help them learn how to respond. So instead of just saying, does anyone have any questions or comments for me? Over time, you can say, does anyone have a response? And then if you've taught them some of these things, they will have a broader selection of things, a broader way of responding to whatever's been shared. It will start showing up in their natural communication too, which is what we hope for. And then the fourth step, that check-in, sharing those highs and lows, relating it to the class goals, and then also problem solving, relating it to your personal goals. And then also just helping students, if in private they need to check in with themselves. And they can rate their achievements, they can talk about their successes, and think about opportunities to improve. There's another template for that to help track those goals, personal goals. So the highs and lows and having that discussion is really important, keeps it positive, and it makes the responsibility for maintaining that positive environment, it makes it the responsibility of everyone. It's not about complying with rules or complying with the adult. It's about caring about each other enough to want to solve whatever issues there are, and being honest and developing your own authentic voice. And then that connecting at the end, it's just like building that sandwich. You want to start off with something positive, the meat, cheese, and all that's in between. And then at the end, you want to have another slice of bread that is a positive thing to send them off to whatever that next activity is. And the mindful, it could be as simple as a mindful minute, you know, taking 30 seconds, 60 seconds to just pause for the cause and think about, you know, set your intention for the day. It could be that simple. In our mindful minute activities, there's a flyer that I'm going to share with you too. Some of these strategies are like this: mindful breathing, color breathing, gratitude. I know this last one, spending time in gratitude, has been really important for me. When I've been stressed or struggling, I remind myself to think about what I'm grateful for, and it can change my day. Again, that flyer for your activities. And I would like to talk to you now about Buddy Up, is our third everyday practice that we use to build relationships. So the wave was one of those things that I talked about as a community builder that we could do in our whole group. And when you're with young children, these routines and the way you adjust them, you may make some adjustments to make it more routine and more standard for little ones to follow along. On our website, you also will find lots of songs that younger children really will enjoy, and some games that are really focused on little ones, like getting their wiggles out. We've already practiced a Meetup. Again, I showed you that chart. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do another Meetup right now. I want to move on. But on the portal, we also have, again, a Q&A section where you can see what other people have asked about it, or you can ask your own questions, get your own answers. Buddy Up. Buddy Up, what is different about this than like Think, Pair, Share or Turn to Your Partner is it's very intentional. It's actually planned out that over time, every single person, every single child in that group will get to know, have time to buddy up with every other person throughout the week, or depending on the cadence of your program, you might take 2 weeks. If they don't meet every day, you might say, well, for 2 weeks, for 2 weeks, Opal and Cheryl, you are going to be buddies this week, or you're going to be buddies for the next 2 weeks. And when I say buddy up, you two need to get together because we're going to be doing something. And we have these quick connection cards that I'm going to be sharing with you. They're online. And they're also on our app. So why do we buddy up? It makes sure that no one is left out, that over time, everyone is included. And in every group, there's always someone who is not lovely, right? I know when I taught really young children, I would be tactfully defensive for about the first month, getting used to all the snotty noses and all the touching and all the unloveliness that little children can bring, but making sure that everybody's included and that we address those needs and those issues over time so that we can be more lovely all together. And Buddy Up has 4 steps too. So introducing the whole concept of Buddy Up, you might have a meetup where you talk about, hey, I really want everybody to get to know each other, and I want us to really care about each other. And the only way we can do that is if we spend some time together, you know, kind of one-on-one. And so assigning those buddies, in this example, they used one of those blue charts and took students' pictures, and then they could easily just move the pictures around to get the partners together. But it doesn't have to be that way. You could just do it on a chart with older children. But somehow it has to be where they can see it and know it, and that you are also tracking it. That third step is keeping track, because you don't want over time for Tracy to say, hey, you know, I already buddied up with Margot, when in fact, she did not buddy up with Margot, but she doesn't want to buddy up with Margot. You want to make sure that you are tracking for yourself, all your partners, so that everybody is included. And then you select those activities, the conversations that you might want them to have, so that you can keep track of that. And I want to share with you, here's what some of these buddy boards could look like. And then I want to talk with you about these quick connection cards. There's conversations, collaborations, community builders. Conversations work well with Buddy Up or Meetup. Collaborations work with Buddy Up. Collaborations are more where they're doing something together with maybe, you know, 2 or 3 kids doing something together, and it takes a little more planning. Collaborations might have something like, you know, put a puzzle together. You have to have planned ahead, whatever that might be. Community builders are the things that we're doing in those Meetup, like that wave that I talked about, and ideas of things to do with the whole group. And now I want you to pull up your phone, and I want you to look for Harmony Game Room app, because you can have all of those conversation cards in your hand. It works for Android or iOS. While you're doing that, I want to tell you what I love about these quick connection cards. The conversations, you can heart the ones that you like, that you think you would use, so that they're quickly in your hand. And once you've used them, you unheart them, so you will not be redundant or repetitive. Also in the Game Room app, I encourage you to check it out. There is the Relaxation Station. The Relaxation Station has a butterfly. You can breathe in, breathe out, great for de-escalation. There's also this lantern with a light, the flame. You can watch the flame grow bigger, grow smaller. It's just an activity to help focus the mind. So think about, either you could put it on your screen, you put it on a iPad to share with a group, or just on your phone if you're dealing with one-on-one or maybe a really small group of students and you want them to come back together. You need a mindful minute. It's a great activity, a great resource. How many of you found the Game Room app already? Yay. Yeah, you will. I love this Game Room app because no matter where you are, we always are carrying our phones with us. So you don't have to rely on our website, getting to a computer. You have so many resources in your hand, and this is constantly being updated. There are many other games on that app. You see Battle the Bullies. There are so many other activities and games that can help build relationship with either a couple kids or a small group. You would use this likely with an iPad. So we're going to buddy up, and this is our first breakout. How many people do we have? We have 31 people, and we're probably only going to have time to do one buddy up. So let this be the buddy up. Here is the topic. Look at the topic, hold that in your mind. What good memory do you have from when you were really, really young? And Paula, we have 31 people. Let's go into groups of 3. Again, buddy up is normally 2 people, but it could be 3. And sometimes the reason for putting students into groups of 3 could be in the interest of time, but it could also be that you want to have more support, that with 3, maybe you would be more thoughtful about it instead of random, where you'd have someone who's really strong communicator with maybe a couple other shy students, just to help them get the idea of how we're going to buddy up. So can you put us into groups of 3? And we're only going to be there, guys. It's going to be a quick fire thing. You're only going to be there 2 minutes. Okay? So what good memory do you have when you were really young? 2 minutes. Hold that in your thought. Get ready to share. Introduce yourself to your buddies, and then get ready to share and listen. There we are. All right. So how was that for you all? Is there anyone who would like to share something interesting or something that they learned about their buddies in this Buddy Up? Coney, I saw you for a minute. You guys are turning off your camera because you don't want me to see you. I would like, is there somebody you want me to share?
I'm running programs, so I'm like in and out of my office, but I'm listening to you guys.
Thank you. Coney Brizuela, are you there?
Yes, Connie Brizuela.
Connie Brizuela. Connie, could you share something that you learned about your buddies?
So my buddy told me that she used to be a jock growing up. She used to do a lot of sports. She's in Texas, so it was really hot. I don't know if she grew up in Texas, but she said she was in Texas right now. But yeah, she said that she did a lot of sports growing up, so she remembers that. And she says now I think her kids did not follow her steps.
Thank you, Connie. Yeah, and in whenever you're doing a Buddy Up, you can ask, you just can take 2 minutes and say, buddy up, and here's your topic. And you can ask them to share out, or you can say, thanks for sharing. Everybody line up. We're on our way to music. It doesn't have to, the time, it's so flexible. You can make it work for you with the time that you have. I'm going to share with you some other buddy ups. So this buddy up was a conversation. The next buddy up was a collaboration. So can you imagine how fun this is in a room? You get with your buddies and you sing. If your buddies and you know it, you give them the song, you teach it to them, then they have to sing with their buddies. And the energy that brings to the room, it is fun. I've done this with adults too. And then this last buddy up is so challenging. This is the third kind of card that we have. It's a community builder, change the beat. One person in your group, so you have 3 or 4 this time. And it would be like, I would have 2 buddy pairs get together and they create a beat using only your body. And then you do it 5 times. Your group has to repeat that. And then again, it brings energy to the room. It's fun. It doesn't take a lot of time. So tell me, what are the social skills that would be practiced by doing these buddy ups? Which of these do you think resonate with you? Here's a lot of ideas of things that I think can come out. Is there anyone in particular, anybody have one that they think would really make a difference in their program?
I think all of these skills, in all honesty, just based on the types of questions or the type of things, prompt they have to talk about or to share, it can vary. I absolutely love this. And I was sharing with my buddy earlier that I really appreciate the fact that we can track what's happening, and that lends itself for a little bit more intentionality with the program, so we can look at the data and see what's working. So I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to fly through. You'll have this PowerPoint. There are other ideas from the field when they would use buddy up. I want to get to so the things that you need to do in your planning, you need to think about a buddy board. The buddy grid is on our website. You can use that one or make your own, and then choose your activities. And we have a whole lot of activities again. You can use your game room app to pull up conversation cards or any of those quick connections. But you can also go online and look at the Q&A or ask your own questions. And I'm not going to have time to talk about the difference between our Harmony 2nd and 3rd edition, but the most important thing you need to know is this is totally aligned to CASEL. You know, the great warehouse for all things social emotional learning. All of our lessons, all of our activities are aligned to CASEL. Those, and they're easy to use. And within all of these lessons, there are activities and games that are related to all those lessons. And like on the Game Room app, like Battle of the Bullies is in one of the lessons in a more elaborate way online. But on your phone, it's a modified version to be able to do it easily with like an iPad. We have things that are the same between 2nd and 3rd edition, and we have some new things. Some of these sheets that I've been sharing with you, how to build community, the response prompts, and then being able to print off the quick connection cards yourself. I'm flying through here and I'm sorry to do that. We didn't get to talk about Inspire. I encourage you when you sign on to the website that you check out Inspire, because Inspire there's 73 modules that actually help you build your own social emotional competency. They're really well done lessons. They have videos, they're engaging, they're fun, and they're short. Some of them are 30 minutes, some are 60 minutes. And when you complete them, you get a certificate of completion. You just have to pass the little evaluation at the end. You can take it as many times as you need. And that might be something that would be beneficial to you to show, your continuing education. I've worked with some programs. If you want to work with me, if your program is interested in developing like a series of learning. I did one for Creative PLC is a 5.5-hour professional learning committee that was focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we used the Inspire modules to do it. So right now, what I want all of you to do is make note of harmonysel.org, and Paula, if you could put that in the chat, you guys can just click on it. If you will create your own, click on it. You may not have time to get it all done, but it's easy to create your own account. If you've clicked on that website, and you are going to create your own account, you just put in your email and choose your own password. You will have access to all these resources. And if you'll do that, as soon as you've done that, write done in the chat. Paula's going to be monitoring that. And I have a prize for whoever does that. We have a kit. We no longer are doing these kits, but we have a warehouse of our 2nd edition kit that I'm going to gift to someone as soon as Paula does her randomized selection. So put done in the chat when you've gone on to harmonysel.org and put in your email address and created your own account. Then you have access to everything Harmony and Inspire. And I will be shipping. I'll be shipping the gift of this to someone. And before we went online, we actually had decks of cards like you have in the gamer map. We actually have decks of cards, physical cards, and then a guidebook for doing all of our everyday practices. We're at time. Does anyone have a pressing question? Anything, the burning question? We are, I'm like 2 minutes over, I think. Any comments? I appreciate your attention and participation today. So Paula, do we have a prize? Do we have a winner?
I'll give another minute or so for people to keep putting it in the chat. But
All right.
Time, I would like to thank you for this very informative session, and I'd like to thank all of our attendees for joining us and taking time out of their busy schedules. If you haven't yet, take a minute to fill out our survey. You'll be emailed a certificate of attendance after you complete it. And we hope you'll join us next week for another webinar. Next week, we have Jody Grant, the Executive Director of the After School Alliance. And she will be having a conversation about ways that various programs across the country can help support you at your program, and listening to what your concerns are and trying to help you with your problems. So these are always very popular sessions. So if you haven't signed up yet, you should make sure to go to the link that I'll post in the chat and sign up for next week's webinar. All right, so we've got a bunch of people now. So let me, oh, and Elle just dropped her email in the chat. If you haven't, if you want to contact her for any additional questions. As she mentioned, I'm going to be sending everyone who registered the recording for this session, as well as her slides and all the resources that she mentioned. All right, I'm pulling the name now. The winner is, oops. Very dramatic. Sorry for the suspense. It's Connie.
Connie.
Connie, yes.
Connie. Yay! Connie, I need you to make note of my email. Did you see that? I'll put it in again. I want you to email me because I'm going to get your information. Or you can put it in the chat too. There, you got me. Paula put it in. You got me? I'm sorry, it's Essenmacher. I can't help it. My husband, you can't help it. My given name is Martha, and my husband is Essenmacher. And so it's messenmacher@nu.edu. Connie, email me, and I'm going to send you your prize. Again, thank you, everyone. Paula, thank you for arranging for this today. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thanks everyone for joining us. We hope to see you next week.